Hey guys, Cody Schmidt here with Firehouse Pro Shop here in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and today I'm going to show you guys how I lay out my bowling equipment for myself and for the customers that come in here to the shop. I use what's called the dual angle layout system, and if you guys are unfamiliar with it, I'm going to show you guys how that operation works, how I lay out the bowling balls, what lines to draw where, what the angles mean, what the length means, and I'm going to show you guys all of that inside this video so that hopefully by the end of the video you guys are experts. So stay tuned, let's put some lines on this bowling ball and you guys can see how it works. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to be showing you guys how I lay out bowling balls on this Black Widow Pink here. The first thing you need when you're laying out a bowling ball with the dual angle layout system is you're going to need a ProSect. Now a ProSect is basically a quarter scale that has all of these angles on the back side. That's where the dual angle layout system gets its name from, because you're utilizing those angles. Now, when you're laying out a bowling ball, you want to make sure, or you want to know what kind of ball you're laying out. This one is an asymmetric bowling ball. You can tell it's asymmetric because it's got 3 marks on the surface of the bowling ball. It's got the pin, it's got the center of gravity, which is denoted by this hammer logo here, and it's got a mass bias on it. This one says HMB, which stands for hammer mass bias. Generally, it's just going to be a little circle that's down there at the bottom. If it's a symmetrical bowling ball, it's only going to have 2 marks. It's not going to have this mass bias here. It's only going to have the pin and the CG up there. So now, since this is an asymmetric bowling ball, you're going to take your ProSect, you're going to line it up with the pin up there and the mass bias down here, and you're going to draw a line through it. If it's a symmetrical bowling ball, you're only going to draw that line from the pin through the CG. So now that we have that line there, this ProSect has a little bump at the top here. Right there, you can see it. You're going to line that little bump up because that symbolizes the middle of the ProSect. You're going to line that bump up, you're going to line that plastic piece up, and now you're going to look at these angles on this side here, since I'm a right-hander. If you were a left-hander, you would look at these angles on the left side, but since I'm a right-hander, we're looking at the right side angles. Now this first angle here symbolizes where that ball is going to hook on the lane or read on the lane. The closer you are to 0, the earlier that ball is going to read on the lane, the earlier that ball is going to hook or want to hook. And if the closer you are to 90, the later that ball is going to want to read and hook. Generally, I usually like my balls kind of right in the middle of both, so I will generally put it at 50. We'll start with this one at 50. So now you just made that little mark there. Now you're going to draw a line from that pin to that 50-degree mark you just made. Now we're going to look at these lengths here on the side of this ProSect. You're going to line that 0 up with the top. Now this is going to be your pin to PAP measurement. On an asymmetric bowling ball, the closer you are to 0, the less that ball is going to flare. The closer you are to 6, the more that ball is going to flare. On a symmetrical bowling ball, so a bowling ball that doesn't have that mass bias point, the magic number is 3 7/8. If you're right on 3 7/8, that's the maximum amount of hook a symmetrical bowling ball will have. If you're closer to 6, that ball is not going to flare as much. If you're closer to 0, that ball is not going to flare as much. That magic number, is 3 7/8. So, because this is an asymmetric bowling ball, the closer you are to 6, the more that ball is going to flare. So I'm going to go with a magic number of 5. That's going to mean this ball is going to flare quite a bit. It's not going to be the maximum amount of flare, but it's going to flare quite a bit. And now this is your PAP. I denoted that by making an X on the bowling ball. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to line that little bubble up with your PAP. You're going to measure, or you're going to line that plastic piece up with the line that you just made. And now you're going to look at these angles on the side here. These angles on the side here are going to denote how sharp and aggressive that ball is going to be, or how smooth and controllable that ball is going to be. The closer you are to 10, the more aggressive that ball is going to be, the more the ball's that it's going to flip. The closer you are to 90, the more smoother, the more controllable that ball is going to be. When I was younger, I used to have my bowling balls kind of in that 20-30 range. I like kind of that hockey stick motion, but the older I get, the more I realize how uncontrollable that kind of motion is. So I started making my angles a little bit bigger on that last part there. So I'm going to make this bowling ball a 45-degree angle. So now we just made that measurement here, that mark, it's right there. Now we're going to draw a line from our PAP to that mark that we just made. And this is going to be your val or your vertical axis line. So now we just made that, and now all you need to know is your PAP. Now I'll make a video later explaining how you find your PAP. I just know my PAP is 3/4 of an inch up. So I'm going to go down. Now I just made a mark there. I'm going to line that bubble up with that mark that I just made. Line that plastic piece up with the val. Now I'm going to draw a line over. And my PAP, like I said, is 3/4 of an inch up by 5 inches over. So now I'm going to look for 5 inches here. Make a line at 5 inches. And now that's going to be my center of grip right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line, which is my grip line. Draw a line straight through that. Now that's what I'm going to make my measurements based off of. Without going too much into my measurements, I'm going to draw a finger hole there, finger hole there. Thumb hole's obviously going to be down here. And that's how you lay out a bowling ball with the dual angle layout system. All right, so now that you guys know how bowling balls are laid out and how I lay out my customers' bowling balls, you might be saying, okay, that's great, but how do I figure out how my bowling ball at home or the one that I have, how that one's laid out, and how I know that ball is going to react? Well, I'm glad you asked. There is a simple way of finding out how your bowling ball at home is laid out. Obviously, you still need that ProSect. So if you don't have one, you might have to go into a pro shop and have them lay out that bowling ball for you. But it's real simple. So first thing you do, when I drill my bowling balls, I scribe. So I scribe a mark on here that denotes the center of grip. So if you have that center of grip line, great. If not, you're going to have to measure your grip, and then you'll have to find the middle of that grip, and you'll have to make a line. But since I have a line here, I can just take that center of grip, and I can just draw a line straight over. And this is going to be you're finding your PAP. So like I said, my PAP is at 5 inches, so I'm going to draw a line at 5. And then it's 3/4 of an inch up. So I'm going to draw my val, your vertical axis line. And then I'm going to put my mark at 3/4 of an inch up. I'm going to put my X. That is my PAP. So now you have those measurements there. Now this is a symmetrical bowling ball. The way I can tell it's symmetrical because it has just that pin, and then on Motiv it's a little hard to see, but they have a little indentation in the bowling ball surface there. That's going to be your center of gravity. So now, like I said, because it's a symmetrical bowling ball, I'm going to draw a line. You got to look out for that finger hole there. It's kind of an obstacle. Draw a line from that pin through the center of gravity. And there you got that line. And then you also want to draw a line from your pin to your PAP. And there you have those lines. So now all that's left to do is measure. So you're going to put that little bump on the top of the ProSect there. Make sure that line is lined up there. And this one is 55, you can see there. So we'll do a 55 there. Now you're going to measure your pin to your PAP, which this one is 5 inches. So by 5, and now we got to flip the ball over. We got to put that little indentation right on your PAP there, and then measure that final angle. This final angle is 45. So this ball right here is a, oops, I bumped you guys there, is a 55 by 5 by 45, and that is a fairly simple way. Obviously, like I said, you need your ProSect, but that's a fairly simple way of finding out how your ball is laid out. Again, if you don't have a ProSect at home, you can go to your local pro shop operator. You can walk in, you can ask him, say, hey, how's my ball laid out? He should be able to, as long as he has your PAP, he should be able to get that done for you. And how long did it take me? 3 minutes. So it's fairly simple, fairly easy to figure out how your bowling ball is laid up. I just want to thank you guys for watching today's video. I know this was kind of a step in a different direction because, most of my, or I guess both of my videos that I've done lately have been bowling ball reviews. But I kind of want to step into the pro shop a little bit, show you guys how I do, what I work, what I do in the pro shop to lay out bowling balls and kind of give you guys tips and tricks and give you guys sort of a day in the life of a pro shop operator. So again, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.